Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Questions on British Muslim TV with me, Mohammed Shafiq. We're broadcasting on Sky Channel 752 and across social media at British Muslim TV. Wherever you are joining us, a very warm welcome. We want to hear your thoughts and experiences on the stories we're featuring tonight. Call us now on 01924 231 083 or on the WhatsApp number on the screen now. Israeli forces have been criticised by the international community for using excessive violence at the Masjid al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem towards Palestinians, following protests with illegal Jewish settlers trying to evict Palestinian families from the Sheikh Jarrah area of East Jerusalem. With Israeli warplanes targeting Gaza, the Health Ministry said that the death toll has now gone up to 53 people who've been killed, of which 13 are children on the Palestinian side. And in Israel, there's been 6 deaths. Over 700 Palestinians have been injured and massive damage of the Dome of Rock Mosque. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has defended the police action and said that this was the beginning of a wider military campaign to destroy terrorist groups. He said, I quote, "This is a battle between tolerance and intolerance, between lawless violence and order." The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said he was gravely concerned by the ongoing violence. Israel is saying that Hamas and other Palestinian groups have fired over 1,000 rockets, which have brought international condemnation from Western governments. Now, health officials in Gaza say Israeli warplanes targeted 2 residential buildings which collapsed, but Israel claims they were being used to launch rocket attacks. Now, at this stage, Hamas, who run the Gaza Strip, have said they will continue their rocket attacks until the violence in Masjid al-Aqsa is stopped and the violence of killing of innocent people in Gaza stops. Both Egyptian and Qatari officials have been trying in the last 24 hours to get both sides to agree to a ceasefire, but then they haven't succeeded at this stage. Vigils and protests around the world have been held to show support for the Palestinians in cities including Washington, D.C., London, Birmingham, Islamabad, Kuala Lumpur, and in Indonesia as well. Supporters of Israel have been defending the military action and storming of the Masjid al-Aqsa compound as instigated by terrorist groups determined to wipe Israel off the map. Obviously, that's a viewpoint which is disagreed by the Palestinians. We'll keep an eye on what is happening there at this moment in time through the newswires. We'll update you, accordingly on British Muslim TV. Now, in other news, the Iranian presidential election season kicked off this week as several candidates registered to run in what promises to be a crowded field. The current president, Hassan Rouhani's second term ends in June, with an expectation that the right wing will win this election. Shortly, we head to London to talk to the former Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain, Sir Iqbal Sacrani, about moonsighting and why some still follow Saudi Arabia. Sir Iqbal joins us live shortly. Then we head to Birmingham to talk to a member of the NOOR TV moonsighting board, Raja Zahid Nawaz, about why there is a difference about the moonsighting and can we get one Eid. And we finish off in London to hear from Samira Mian. She's from the new Crescent Society about how we should return to local sighting and using science. Is this the magic Is this the magic bullet? Put my teeth back in to get one Eid. And as we come on air, we know that Saudi Arabia will complete their 30 fasts today and will have Eid tomorrow. And just now, in the last few moments, the Jamaat al-Sunnah Birmingham group have just announced Eid al-Fitr based on calculations and Sharia, according to their opinion. We'll talk about that with Raja Zahid Nawaz, is tomorrow, but obviously waiting for others to make their announcements. We'll keep you updated here on British Muslim TV. Now, the questions we're going to consider tonight, but before that, we want to hear from you tonight. You can call us on your views and opinions about these moon wars, moon sighting debate that we're having. 01924 231 083. You can message us on British Muslim TV across social media. Now, send us a WhatsApp message. Number is on your screen. The questions we're considering tonight: how important is it for there to be one Eid here in the UK? Should we follow Saudi Arabia, as that's where we face towards the Kaaba? Or is there time for a British solution on moonsighting wars? That number again, 01924, or messages, 01924 231 083. It would help if I give you the full number. The number is on the screen in terms of WhatsApp, but please join us on this very important discussion. Now, let's start with our first guest. British Muslims have been split down the middle when it comes to the start of Ramadan and celebrating Eid. We have some who just follow Saudi Arabia for ease and others who refuse to follow them. Then those tend to follow Morocco, in most recent years South Africa. And we have the appalling situation where families are divided and in workplaces we're a laughingstock. Is it just egos and personalities stopping a UK-wide agreement? Sir Iqbal Sacrani is a former Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain. He served for 4 years and is a founding member of the organisation. In 1984, he organised a Moonsighting conference, but talks broke down. He tried when he was Secretary General. Again, his colleagues refused to support his work. I'm really pleased that Sir Iqbal Sacrani is joining us live from London. Sir Iqbal Sacrani, a very warm welcome to my programme. It's an absolute honour for us to have you on British Muslim TV.
Absolute pleasure being with you as well, Mohammed Shafiq. And on this blessed day of Ramadan, the last possible day, and may Allah Ta'ala grant us the tawfiq and hidayat to follow that particular aspect of the unity of the Muslims that we're talking about.
Yeah. Just tell us, as we're talking about on this last day of Ramadan, how has Ramadan been for you and the family during this pandemic?
Alhamdulillah, with Allah's grace, in spite of the fact that, there have been many restrictions of us getting together with the family members, but by and large, we are immensely grateful that we were able to attend our prayers in the masjid and also follow the Taraweeh prayers as well. Unlike last Ramadan, where sadly we were all in a complete lockdown. But it has been, of course, alhamdulillah, much better, a greater realization coming to all of us in terms of our duties that we need to perform in this holy month, and the great work that's been done by our charitable organizations across the country. We've been doing some fantastic work, and we've been witnessing on both number of channels, including the BMTV, their work supporting humanitarian work, which is really the essence and the backbone of being Muslims in the holy month, supporting those who are in need. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, it has been a wonderful month. May Allah Ta'ala accept all our good deeds and forgive our shortcomings.
Now, Sir Iqbal, just tell us, what is the difference for the layman, for every our viewers who don't really have the interest like you and me might have? What's the difference in terms of moon sighting?
Well, Brother Shafiq, this is a problem that has been going on, at least that I'm aware, for the last 50 years, perhaps longer. The situation in the UK is that because of our circumstances, the climate conditions that we are in the UK, it is not physically possible to sight moon every month in the UK. Now, so what has been happening is that different groups, primarily we've got 3 groups in the UK, who follow a particular way of moon sighting. So in 1984, as you rightly pointed out, a major international conference took place in London at the London Central Mosque, where all the main Muslim groups came together. And when I say all the main Muslim groups, there were the groups from our the Deoband community, the Al-Sunnah Bareilly community, the Jamaat Islami, the Ali Hadith, the Ikhwan group, all of them, that you name it, were able to get together. And they finally agreed, alhamdulillah, that the formula which we should adopt is something which is, according to the Sharia, acceptable and something that can bring the Muslim community together. And the formula was very simple. The formula said that provided the moon was on the horizon in the UK after sunset, right? Yeah. And if we were not able to sight the moon in the UK, then we would accept the sighting from any Muslim countries on the east of UK. Right? And ideally to the nearest Muslim countries. So they had been following through Morocco and other places as such. This had been in principle, the guideline that we went through. It lasted for a few years, and then sadly, some of the groups came out of it, and they went into the the 3 modes that were there. One group which was following Saudi Arabia, believing that because Makkah is there, although they fully understand.
Because for me, sorry sir to interrupt you, but some just want to follow Saudi Arabia regardless of the Sharia principles. What would you say?
Well, there's no grounds. The point is that if everybody, especially the ulama ikram, are saying that this is according to the Sharia, right? Now the Sharia consensus that is there, it doesn't anywhere in the Hadith or in the Quran say that we have to follow Saudi Arabia. Now, for that matter, I had the opportunity to meet the Mufti of Saudi Arabia and on 2 occasions put these questions to him along with the senior scholars from Saudi Arabia. And they all categorically told us that there's no basis for you to follow us in Saudi Arabia. You follow, in terms of what is right, the consensus of ulamas in the UK. And of course, we are not here to question whether the moon has been sighted in Saudi Arabia or not. That is their issue, their problem. But unfortunately, for some reason, and I think the reason they have been giving to us.
Sorry, Sir Iqbal, I was just going to say, I don't know if you remember in 2009, we were in the Saudi embassy during the royal visit. I remember being there, you were there as well. And that is what the foreign minister, Prince Turki Al Faisal, said at the time. Don't follow us, have a UK-based system. Do you remember that meeting?
I remember, Brother Shafiq, it's clearly clear. Even the various ambassadors, we have raised this issue. But some of the groups, the reason why they follow Saudi Arabia are twofold. That's what we have been told. One, they feel it's very easy. Saudi Arabia makes announcement in the center, our Kaaba, Center Islam, and therefore on that basis it makes announcement. And sadly, regretfully, the main mosque that we put in the London area, they've come together. Although now, I must say, it's something good news that's coming up. There is a reconsideration. And they're now seriously considering, because way back at that time, more than 50% of the UK Muslims were following Saudi Arabia. Today, the situation is that less than, I think, 20% are following Saudi Arabia. And on a daily basis, more and more are coming out and feeling, because now we have got an option for the local sighting. And now the communities are really, the young ulamas are coming up, questioning why are we following something which is not acceptable under the Sharia basis.
Yeah. So, well, that's a big difference in terms of those that follow Saudi Arabia, now gone down to 20%, and that's really interesting. So, Iqbal, you've been involved, you've been providing this national leadership for our community over these past 30, 40 years. Do you think we can get unity on this issue?
I think, Brother Shafiq, this is an issue which is of paramount importance. You know, I remember some years ago when we were in discussion with the government, trying to get a public holiday for Muslims on Eid Day. And the question came in, what day do you want? And we looked at each other's faces, and it was an embarrassment, because we could not come with a day. So it is a sad time, particularly our children going to schools. You know, in one school, some children celebrating it one day.
Sorry, Sir Iqbal, I'm just stopping you there because we're just coming very quickly close to our break. We'll take a quick break. I know you're going to stay with us, Sir Iqbal Sacrani. Join us on the other side of these important messages, where we'll continue the important conversation with Sir Iqbal Sacrani. Join us shortly. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, on this final day of Ramadan 2021 for many people, but also there are people who are waiting for announcements from Morocco. We've just had that announcement from Birmingham, the Jamaat al-Sunnah Birmingham, who just announced, I don't know what basis they've just announced it, because there's been no moon sighted in Morocco, but they've announced that Eid's going to be tomorrow based on the calculation and what the science says. So, Iqbal, I mean, what do you make of that announcement? Because the Brailwi community generally tended to wait until Maghrib. Now they tend to look at the calculation, what the observatory reports are saying, and they've now just announced Eid for tomorrow without waiting to see the moon in Morocco.
Yeah.
It's a mockery, isn't it?
I think it's a very important development that is taking place now. The scientific information, the information data available from the Royal Observatory is something which is of paramount importance. We follow, you know, the data given by Observatory in every aspect of our daily lives. Our 5 times prayers, we follow precisely per the minute. The opening of the fast, the closing of the fast, we do it. Now, when it comes to month of Ramadan, the moon sighting, why shouldn't we look at the data that's available? Therefore, I think it's a welcoming sign that now people are realistic. For example, tonight, the moon is on the horizon in the UK, right? The age of the moon is over 20 hours. It will be more than sort of, I think, 30 to 40 minutes after the sunset. Yeah. There is a real possibility. The weather is good. It is clearly stated. It may be difficult. Yeah. There may be an optical requirement to sight the moon. The fact is the moon is on the horizon. Therefore, I think this new group now that has started is to try and emphasize on local sighting is a good step forward. And I think I've got the fullest support of this particular method of going through the local sighting. The only difficulty comes in is that we will not be able to sight the moon 12 months of the year. They argue somehow that it's possible. I think being in the last 50 years, there are times when, particularly in December, when it's overcast, we will not be able to say, what do we do then? Then I think the answer to that is very clear, that provided the moon is on the horizon in the UK after sunset, we accept from the reliable authority from any part of the world, preferably on the same longitude as the UK, and that makes life easier, because then there's no issue, and there's no issue of us following Saudi Arabia. I think that is now coming less and less, and we'll see more and more people following the other aspects now.
Yeah. Now, I don't understand, because you know this as well as I know. The Brailwi community were very particular about waiting until Maghrib, but now we've got this group in Birmingham who seem to every year decide to change the rules as they go along. Now, there are multiple reports of moon sightings in Saudi Arabia, but the observatory reports say that it's impossible to see the moon. Yet those like yourself have Eid, and as people in the leadership position of the British Muslim community, particularly London, who generally tend to end Ramadan and follow that Eid announcement based on that particularly declaration by Saudi Arabia when it's in conflict with what the observatory report said. Do you understand why that confusion arises?
You see, I think there is also a big shift in Saudi Arabia as well. There's been a huge concern. The matters have been taken to the Supreme Court in Saudi Arabia. It's been challenged as well by the respected ulamas. Therefore, I think there's a gradual change coming in. I can see some positive moves. There were occasions when the moon was not in the horizon in Saudi Arabia, and they had sighted it. And this was an impossible situation. But now this is less of a problem now. I think they've got much more, a better understanding of the avenues of looking at the moon sighting, and particularly the pressure coming in from other parts of the world, that there has to be a realistic approach to it. Therefore, I think there'll be a change in Saudi Arabia. But as far as UK is concerned, I think as I see less and less, and perhaps in the next couple of years, I would be surprised if there's anybody who will be following Saudi Arabia. Because on simple basis, that there's now new organizations that have come out. They're looking for the sighting of the moon across the country, which is a very good move.
Okay.
And provided they can give us the answer, if the moon is not sighted in the UK, what do we do? And therefore, I think we have no option but to look at the nearest Islamic country or nearest Islamic organization that can give us authenticated news.
Okay, so you kind of, there's a conflict there between what Saudi Arabia says and what the science says, which you now accept. And then the other question is, do you think that following Saudi Arabia, those that follow Saudi Arabia are now prepared to compromise and change their position, maybe to that New Crescent Society opinion, which is a local sighting?
Yes, I mean, the Deoband community, by and large, they used to follow Saudi Arabia. Today, the new Wifaqul Ulama group that has come in, much more dynamic, much more understanding in terms of the whole issue of astronomy, they are now challenging it, and they say that no, if the moon, there's no grounds for us to follow Saudi Arabia, and therefore there is this strong movement coming in, looking at the sighting of moon in the UK and the nearest Muslim country, provided the condition is, and this is what the Bareilly community, the Ahli Hadith, all other communities are united, that the moon must be on the horizon in the UK after sunset. If the moon, for example, tonight the moon is on the horizon. Yesterday, the moon was not on the horizon. Therefore, many of organizations simply said they will complete 30 days. Yeah. Today, the moon is on the horizon. Those who are doing 29th, they will have to wait for the confirmation. They will see if they can sight the moon in the UK. If not, then the moon will be sighted, I think, in a number of countries. As you know, today as well, sadly, moon was sighted yesterday. So in Senegal, in Niger, they're actually celebrating it today. So this is another situation we have got, which we have to try and balance it up.
Try and balance it up. And let's be fair here to you, sir. Many of those that follow Morocco, South Africa, are equally dug in. Have you spoken to them? Have you reached out to them? What is their position? Are they prepared to compromise as well?
I think what we should really be concentrating is our position, Mohammed Shafiq. What they do in Morocco, what they do in South Africa, it is their problem, their issue, right?
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm just asking about, I'm not talking about the South Africans or the Moroccans. I'm talking about here, the ulama that follow South Africa or Morocco. Have you spoken to them? Can we get them to compromise?
I think they are willing to discuss now. Unlike the position a few years ago, I spoke to a number of ulamas, and they are willing to at least they should have that feeling to sit together, Mohammed Shafiq. Unless we're able to sit together and discuss and raise the concerns in this time and age, when we are suffering Islamophobia, many of the issues, it is utterly shameful that our ulamas and the community organization cannot come together. And it is an organization like the Muslim Council of Britain that can facilitate to bring them together. And all of us, you, me, and all others who have been working for the unity of Muslims for many, many years, we have a responsibility. And this we will be questioned by the day of on the day of Qiyamah. What did we do? With a great influence, a matter of getting communication, what did we do? I think we can do it. It is possible, provided we have this understanding of ulamas now, and this idea that somehow we follow one country or the other needs to come out, and we need to look at the large as we did in 1984.
Yeah. So we're taking your calls now. Let's open the line 01924231083. If you do want to get in touch and share your thoughts on that, we've got loads and loads and loads of comments. It'd be interesting to see how people are so interested in moonsighting, obviously. Hiza Sibaru, welcome on Facebook, says very excellent. Shaz Latif says every year the moon has been sighted, the moon hasn't been sighted, for God's sake. Ahmed Makda, who's posted a long message, he said the forgotten sunnah of moon sighting needs reviving. When members of the masjids or members of a community congregation ask the question of the masjid, what is the moon sighting criteria? Dialogue should be open-minded to reviving rather than passing the book to Central Moon Sighting Committee. Akhlaq says local will be best. Everyone can unite behind it now the myths have been disproven. Omar Hussain says New Crescent Society have shown how easy and practical it is to sight the moon in the UK. Longitude of time zone versus long horizon visibility. People, lots of experts. So why don't you pick up the phone and talk to us? Talk to myself and Sir Iqbal Sacrani, please. 01924231083. Sir Iqbal, you know that families have been divided. The same household have experienced that. And we know in Rochdale, for example, where I come from, alhamdulillah, the Jabandis, the Brailvis, the Aladis, UK Islamic Mission, they've agreed a formula, South Africa, Morocco, and they've stuck to it. And alhamdulillah, we have one Eid in our hometown of Rochdale. Is that something which we can see bringing the main communities together, the movers and shakers, if you like, from the various fiqhs to come together and say, look, let's agree a formula and then let's stick to it?
I think there is no option, but they have to accept it. I mean, each one of us, my own family, I know there were some who were following through the announcements being made earlier, and the others who follow the actual moon sighting in terms of the availability of the moon on the horizon in the UK. All the families are suffering across the UK. It's a very sad occasion, that such a happy occasion when the Muslim Ummah can be celebrating coming together. We are really fighting and, backbiting on this particular issue, and, making statements that this is unacceptable, this is haram, and this is acceptable. This is very sad state of affairs. And of all the people, the ulamas generally understand this, right? And the community, I think there's more community organization coming forward and saying that, no, we will not just leave it in the hands of the ulama. Of course, they should provide us a guidance. Of course, they must give us guidance according to the Sharia. But sometimes there's an issue of some egos that comes in, and for absolutely no reason that can be understandable by us. And therefore, I think the community organizations have to play a bigger role. We work together with ulamas, and now with this new idea, with the local moon sighting, which is of course following the Sunnah. And there's absolutely full privileges and the benefit of following the Sharia by waiting until Maghrib time, looking at the moon. If it's not there, we make the announcement, ideally. But we must be realistic. We are living in a time where people have to take time off from their work. And I think there is a real possibility that calculations will play an important role of deciding on moon in the UK. Because scientifically it is something acceptable. We know about it. What we need is just confirmation of sighting.
Yeah.
So provided we know the moon is on the horizon in the UK after sunset, we have to wait for the authentic confirmation. Once that comes in, the matter is clear. I think calculation will play a good, important role.
I've got a couple of more questions. I don't know how long we've got. We've got 60 seconds before the break. How long have we got, Sir Iqbal, with this? Can somebody tell me? Oh, until the break. So let's ask you one final question. So what happens if we adopt that local moon sighting method, and then we get to a situation where it's cloudy and the moon can't be seen here? We would more likely get more 30 days. So that's why you look to, say, Morocco, South Africa, or another country. How do you balance that out?
You see, there's only one issue that we have got with the local moon sighting, that if they do not sight the moon in the UK, they are saying we complete 30 days. Okay. Now, how many 30 days are we going to complete? Right? So there is going to be a time for more than 6 months, 7 months. You can't have 30 days.
Yeah.
So therefore, this is the only short...
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sir Iqbal. Sorry, we just reached the end. I apologize. We'll get you back on talk about it soon. Take a break. We'll come back and carry on the conversation. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. 2 questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, exclusively here on British Muslim TV on Sky Channel 752. If you're watching us on social media, a very warm welcome. I know there's lots and lots of interest on this particular issue. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to Sir Iqbal Sacrani, former head of the Muslim Council of Britain, to join us there. I'm just slightly disappointed we didn't have enough time, but he's promised to come back, inshallah, because this issue is not going to go away. You know, and so we need to discuss it, and so hopefully we'll try to get him back, inshallah, at a future date. So let's move on to our next guest. Okay, Raja Zahid Nawaz. Now, when the first generation of Muslims arrived in the UK in the 50s and the 60s, moon sighting was an issue which they needed to address, as the weather here was cloudy and they needed a solution to celebrate Eid and mark Ramadan. In those early days, there was a consensus amongst all the diversity of the British Muslim community that they had to try to sight the moon here in the UK, and then if that wasn't possible, for them to wait for sighting reports from Morocco confirming a positive sighting. And then, obviously, in those days, waiting for a fax and waiting for information isn't as quick as it is today, and that was the reason why some people dropped off, as Sir Iqbal Sacrani said. Raja Zahid Nawaz is a member of the Ruhe Halat board in the UK on NOOR TV and is an expert on moon sighting. He's somebody who's prevalent within the British Sunni community. He's a good friend. I'm really pleased to say he's joining us live now from Birmingham. Raja Sahib, assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to the program. It's great to have you on.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you for inviting me, my dear brother Mohammed Shafiq.
Just before we move on and talk about what Sir Iqbal Sacrani was saying and others, what do you make of this announcement from Jamaat al-Sunnat Birmingham, which is a group which of a number of scholars, predominantly Brailwi scholars, who've just announced Eid al-Fitr for tomorrow, and that was released at, 4 o'clock this afternoon?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The recent announcement by the organization which you have cited, I am slightly confused whether that is the organizational announcement or whether it's the announcement of a particular individual who can be seen making the announcement. So I don't want to comment on any organizational announcement where the organization may have not made the announcement. But the announcement at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock before sunset, whoever makes such an announcement really is proving one point, that they don't actually engage in actual moon sighting and that they are primarily relying on astronomical calculations and simply not following any principles which they themselves had signed up to. For example, the individual who is making the announcement belongs to an organization, and that organization has signed a declaration with the ulama in the north, in particular in Manchester.
And we'll come to all of these issues.
That they will not announce before the sunset time within the UK. And you know as well as I know that the sunset time hasn't even arrived. So these people are making immature, premature announcements.
Okay, let me get a question in here and set you. He is speaking officially on behalf of his organisation. We're talking here about Mufti, what's his name? Misbah Malik Saab. who's a member of the Jamaat al-Sunnat Moonsighting Board, and he's speaking in that authority. But you think it's far too early to make that announcement now? Because that's been based on the calculation and what the Royal Observatory is saying, that the moon is possible to be visible in Morocco, and there's a 90% chance that it will be.
Absolutely. The announcement being made now is primarily on astronomical calculations, but it is rather, I would say, beyond belief to make the basis that it can be sighted in Morocco. Therefore, we can announce at 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock our time, because Morocco hasn't even announced yet.
Yeah, we won't expect that announcement until, for our viewers' sake, if you expect about 9 o'clock.
9:30.
9:30, you think, yeah.
Our time.
Yeah, so the Moroccan government officials that I've been speaking to, expecting an official announcement around 9 o'clock UK time, but you said 9:30, so we know it won't be until after 9 o'clock. But I just want to leave that there. Obviously, there's concern about that. But then when we talk about that British solution, which the New Crescent Society have been talking about, Raja Saab, that something can be found to meet the needs of the Sharia, to meet the requirements of what the ulama say, but also backed up by the observatory report. Is that the issue that we need to address?
The real issue is to try to understand what is the source and the actual dispute. Where does it originate from? I think it originates from people blindly following certain countries, Brother Shafiq. And top of the list is Saudi Arabia. People follow Saudi Arabia blindly without even realizing that the Saudi follow a predetermined calendar. And based on that calendar, they make their announcements. And in some occasions where the moon has not even been born, for example, what we refer to in astronomical terms, conjunction of the moon. This was the case when Ramadan started. The Saudi officials were trying to look for the moon before it was even born, before the conjunction took place. Even yesterday, they were trying to look for a moon where the conjunction, according to their local time, had not taken place, for example. And they were trying to sight the moon. And then they said, well, we haven't been able to see the moon. Of course, you could not see the moon because the conjunction hasn't even been able to take place. But saying that it's not just Saudi Arabia, would you believe that there are examples, for example, Niger, there was Eid today there. They've miraculously saw the invisible moon. Now, what can you say when somebody makes an announcement that they've seen the moon which hasn't even been born, and they even claim that it's the crescent? Because let's face a technical reality here, that the conjunction is when the earth, the sun are all in one line. You cannot see the moon at that point. Now, if somebody makes the claim that they've seen it even before it's even come to the standard, to the level of the crescent.
Sorry, Raja Zahid, we're coming very close to break, and I just want to get one more question in before we do that. I know you're going to stay with us, and we'll open the lines as well. There's lots of interest in this. 019242310 if you've got a question or comment on that. So what's the difference between the Saudi approach and the Morocco approach?
The Saudi approach follows the principles of the birth of the moon.
Okay.
And then there needs to be a positive lag time, even if it's a few minutes. That means that the moon needs to be set after sunset. So there's a positive lag of the sun, of the moon. And they will announce based on that. And that's how their calendar is established. I've explained that in very simple words, so your viewers could actually understand.
Just pause there. Let me take a quick call because I know we're coming close to a break.
If I could finish.
Sure, yeah.
The Morocco, they actually sight the moon, actual sighting.
Physically.
So after their sunset, they have an established moon sighting system where they will go out and sight the moon. Once the moon is sighted, then they will actually review, validate and verify all of the people who have said that we have sighted the crescent. They will review that. Could it have been sighted? If it could have been sighted by looking at the astronomical data as well, then their Ministry of Habus and Religious Affairs will make the announcement.
Okay, at that point, so that which we expect for our viewers' sake, obviously our views are very diverse. You've got people who follow Saudi Arabia, as the channel generally tends to do, follow Saudi Arabian announcements. Obviously, your 30 days will be complete today and your Eid will be tomorrow. If you're waiting for that announcement from Morocco, South Africa, we expect that around this evening from Morocco, in particularly from about 9:30, 9 o'clock. Raja Zahid Nawaz is staying there. I know we've got quite a few callers waiting. Promise to come to you after the break. Join us after the break, but keep bringing us on 01924 231 083. See you very shortly after these important messages. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. Two questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq. I'm smiling because I just find it bizarre. That we have an announcement at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's not even Maghrib in some of these countries. But that, my guest, Raja Zahid Nawaz, is still here. We're talking to him about these issues. But also we've got a caller. Look, if you want to talk and you've got a question to these experts, pick up the phone at 01924 231 083. Let's go to the lines. Let's go to line 1. Assalamu alaikum. You're live on British Muslim TV.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Shafiq.
Hello, Brother Shoaib. How you doing, my brother?
All right, not too bad. I just want to say you don't need to be too confused regarding the announcement that's been made mid-afternoon, because this individual and this organization has done this in the past. But what I want to ask Raja Sahab was, wouldn't it be better for the sake of unity to go with the majority? Because once Saudi Arabia made the announcement, whether it's a month before or a year, it's calculated, we know that. But as soon as they make the announcement, whether it's right or wrong, the rest of the UAE countries, they follow suit and they make announcements as well. So with being the majority, shouldn't we just be simply going with the majority ad hoc?
So if the majority, sorry Shoaib, let me get this right. If the majority then supports Saudi Arabia, would you be willing to support Saudi Arabia?
Personally, I'd still follow the Sharia. But I'm just saying for those who are saying that because it's majority.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we've got that report coming in. Obviously,
thing,
sorry, go ahead.
I think Sir Iqbal Sacrani was very good. And I think with the new Crescent Society, I think you should get all three on the TV together.
Yeah, well, we're trying to do that, inshallah, over the next few weeks. And look, we wanted to get this program today because lots of people talking and thinking about moonsighting, and regardless of that announcement. One of the things, thank you so much, Shoaib Malik there from Warrington. The other announcement that just come through in the last few moments, Oman has sighted the moon and therefore their Eid al-Fitr is tomorrow. Oman is closer to Saudi Arabia but don't generally tend to follow Saudi Arabia. They have their own moon sighting requirements and calculations, but they've just announced as well. And as sorry, Raja Sahab, in terms of Morocco, we expect that announcement between 9 and 9:30 tonight. But what about South Africa? Is the moon possible to be seen there? And if it is, when can we expect an announcement from South Africa?
The case of South Africa is very clear that unfortunately the moon will not be visible in South Africa. And the primary reason for that, Brother Shafiq, is this, that the altitude of the moon is only 5 degrees. And this is a too lower degree above the horizon for the moon to be seen. Therefore, the classification which the Royal Greenwich Observatory has given this type of sighting or this type of prediction, I would say, is category F. And this criterion was developed in 1988, that the moon is not visible because it is below the Danjan limit. So there is no chance for the crescent moon to be sighted in South Africa, and we are expecting all negative reports from South Africa.
Okay.
So the question which your caller has just put forward about majority and minority, nowhere in the texts on moon sighting in Hadith is there any reference whatsoever, not a single one, which says that if the majority were to start a month on a particular date, everybody should follow this. Because if we apply that principle, my question is, why isn't Oman following this principle that majority is authority.
Yeah.
Majority is not authority. The moon sighting needs to be followed according to the principles and the injunctions prescribed in the hadith.
Okay.
And that is the first priority. As far as calculations are concerned, calculations is a secondary source. And let me make this very clear. Calculations...
Sorry, Raja Zahid, can I ask you to pause that point there? We'll come back to you. We just need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We've got a longer segment with you, so we'll go into more detail. Raja Zahid Nawaz, a member of the Rural Art Board here in the UK, an expert on moon sighting. He's going to stay with us, and we'll take more of your calls. Join us on the other side of this. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, on this last day of Ramadan 2021 for those that follow Saudi Arabia and those that are waiting for a sighting from Morocco. We don't expect that until 9:30 this evening, between 9 and 9:30 this evening. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. I know I'm on air with Penny Appeal's charity appeal this evening. So whenever that announcement comes, we'll make that announcement. But yeah. I'm also joined by Raja Zahid Nawaz, who's a member of the Rural Art Board here in the UK of NOOR TV, instrumental figure and expert on this issue, and he's joining us as well. We're going to take your calls as well. We've got loads of comments on Twitter and Facebook. I'll try to get through some of them as well. But let's give you that update. We expect an announcement from Morocco around 9 o'clock to 9:30. Oman has already sighted the moon, so they will have their Eid tomorrow. South Africa, as Raja Zahid Nawaz said, we don't expect there to be a positive sighting from South Africa, so they most likely will do theirs on Friday. And then we are waiting for Morocco this evening. Raja Zahid Nawaz is still with us. So originally, Raja Zahid Nawaz, the relationship was based around following Morocco, and places like Rochdale and other places, they kind of added South Africa as an additional country. Is it just Morocco, or can we add additional countries? What about Nigeria? What about Chad? What about Fiji? What about, I don't know, how far you want to take this?
Right. Firstly, let me make it very clear. We simply do not follow Morocco for the sake of following Morocco. There's no binding agreement between our board or our moon sighting principle that we will follow Morocco. And Morocco is not the only country under our radar that we are monitoring very, very closely. We can get news from any country subject to the time zones matching with the UK, which have absolutely established systems of moon sighting. By that I mean that that country themselves engage in moon sighting, they don't follow someone else. So for example, if I was to say Turkey, we cannot follow Turkey. The reason being is Turkey themselves do not do moon sighting. They base their announcements on astronomical calculations. And then those neighboring countries, for example, Macedonia, Bosnia, they will follow Turkey. So if I was to say I am following or making an announcement based on the announcement of Bosnia or Macedonia, I am misleading my congregation. I am misleading my community because there is no actual moon sighting in these countries. This is calculations. The reason we select our countries is because they have solid moon sighting systems for all the 12 months. Remember, the Islamic calendar does not just comprise of Zulhijjah, Shawwal, or Ramadan. It starts from Muharram, ends on Zulhijjah, 12 months. I would like to see sighting reports of all 12 months, and I follow these religiously and look at their sighting reports and then compare them with astronomical data. So, for example, good demonstrable systems for all 12 months of moon sighting. We have Reunion, we have Zambia, we have Zimbabwe, we have Malawi, and also you have Oman, which doesn't follow Saudi Arabia. So we have no allegiance, we have no binding agreement with Morocco that we have to follow Morocco. For example, if it was the other way around, Brother Shafiq, that Morocco was unable to sight the moon today, but South Africa could, Zambia could, Zimbabwe could, we would rely on the principle, something known as istifadae khabar. the information becomes widespread. And based on that principle, our ulama have guided us, and they are very senior ulama present in Manchester and other parts of the country, in Bolton, Birmingham, and we have a television station dedicated for this purpose to make these verifiable announcements. We would look at another country that if they made the announcement and the news had reached up to the standard of the information becoming widespread, known as istifada-e-khabar, and those countries were following actual moon sighting, and that could be verified by astronomical calculations. I would like to say even Saudi Arabia, if they were to make their announcements which are consistent with astronomical calculations, I have no hesitation in asking the ulama to also consider Saudi Arabia. And I make this statement to make it clear that there is no bias towards Saudi Arabia based on sectarian grounds or any other grounds.
I just want to bring this in for you. You probably know this, you probably agree with it. The Central Mosque Gumgol Sharif in Birmingham has just announced that they will wait until Maghrib for any announcement on Eid, and seem to have been disassociating them from that announcement that we've seen from Birmingham.
I absolutely agree with the announcement of Gumgol Sharif. They have developed a very solid system that they actually go out and try to sight the moon in the UK. This is the first thing we need to do. And the point I was making before the break was calculations have never been used just to make the announcement in isolation. Calculations are used to make predictions. But on the 29th, there's no more prediction. We go out and sight the moon. This is what needs to happen. And secondly, calculations are used to reject bogus news coming forward that the moon has been sighted. For example, if I get a news in the next hour that the moon has been sighted in South Africa, I will compare it to the astronomical calculations. And the astronomical calculations are saying that it is not possible for the moon to be sighted in Cape Town, in Johannesburg. So if somebody who has this kind of supervision in South Africa makes this claim, we would reject this based on astronomical calculations. That's what astronomical calculations are designed to do, not to make the announcement and to omit actual moon sighting. Because what you are doing by rejecting the whole culture of actual moon sighting is deviating from the actual injunctions.
Well, that's what I really want to get into, make this simple for my viewers. So you can use calculations, but you have to wait until the actual moon is sighted. And obviously
in scientific principles, let me use the term, calculations is a secondary source. Primary source is actual moon sighting. That needs to be done. And what is frustrating, I've been involved in this since 1980 now.
No, I know, but what I'm trying to understand...
Brother Shafiq, one second. Please allow me. What frustrates me is that there's a lot of quarreling, there's lots of fighting, but yet the moon sighting, actual moon sighting is very minimum. That culture is changing, and we are advocating that culture needs to change. More people need to go out. They need to sight the moon rather than sitting in your house and fighting. Let's come out and sight the moon.
That's what I was going to ask you, sir. It's not, this division is not just exclusively a Brailwi thing. We know many Jubandis, we know many UK Islamic Mission, for example, some elements of Wifaqul Ulama are adopting local sighting now and oppose following Saudi Arabia because of the issue around the Al Qura. Can you just tell us what the issue is with Al Qura, the calendar, Saudi calendar?
I have explained earlier on that calendar is based on the principle of conjunction and positive lag time, no actual sighting. Even I go to the extent, and the technical experts will agree with me, when the birth of the new moon occurs, it is not crescent, it is conjunction, known as muhaq, not hilal. The Saudi calendar is based on the principle of conjunction, not crescent.
Okay, I've got 3 minutes, sir.
Whereas the Quranic injunction is yasalunaka anil ahilla. We are looking for the crescent. We are not looking for the invisible moon, because something which is invisible cannot be seen.
Okay, so I've got less now, 3 minutes to go, sir. The New Crescent Society is advocating that we don't follow any foreign country. We have a UK-based solution and use that calculation. You say that's a non-starter.
No, I do not say that is a non-starter. I think that's a very good start. We need to encourage people to sight the moon. And I think the New Crescent Society, Wifaqul Ulama, and also NOOR TV Royat Hilal Board has done a tremendous job in encouraging people to go out and sight the moon. Now, if the moon is not sighted on the horizon of the UK, we need a discussion. And that's why I've encouraged the honorable members of New Crescent Society to have that dialogue with a selected group of ulama. And I think that discussion needs to take place. But my humble plea is this: there is a better solution for this as well. And we need to focus on that. And I look forward to sharing a platform with Sir Iqbal Sacrani, whom I have utmost respect for. He is close to the Saudi decision makers and the Saudi followers. If he can influence the Saudi authorities to change their calendar, timing is everything. I think now is the ripe time that Saudi Arabia is going through a period of significant change. If they could teach Hinduism in their syllabus, if they could actually change the boards for the entry into Haramain Sharifain and the boundary line to Haram that everybody could enter, I think now we could try and encourage them that if you could make all these radical changes, please change your calendar from the birth of the moon to the actual calculation of the visibility. Moon. If that calendar is changed and people started to follow Saudi Arabia if they have any close allegiance, then those people who follow Saudi and the actual sighting, more or less, we would come to some common ground.
So okay, thank you so much.
Sir Iqbal Sacrani is a very
sorry, Raja Zahid Nawaz, we're going to
change Saudi thinking.
I haven't got no time left, but what we're going to do, you've agreed, Sir Iqbal's agreed to have a dialogue, and so let's see if we can set that up after Eid. But thank you so much for joining us, Raja Zahid Nawaz. We'll take a break. After the break, we'll talk to the New Crescent Society. Join us on the other side of this. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, live here on British Muslim TV. Yes, Sky Channel 752. Obviously, this has caused a lot of debate and discussion around this particular issue. The New Crescent Society is what we're going to talk about next. But let me just give you the update as to what's happening. Obviously, Saudi Arabia completed their 30 days. They will do their Eid tomorrow. So if you're following Saudi Arabia, then your Eid will be tomorrow. Obviously, the rest of the country, we're talking about Wifaqul Ulama, some majority of the Jubbandi community, many of the Shia community, many of the Sunni Brelvi community. There's lots of division around that within the British Muslim community. That's why we wanted to put this discussion on. Those who follow Morocco, South Africa, we don't anticipate will see the moon because scientifically the observatory reports say that it's impossible to be seen. But there is a 90% chance, according to the calculation, that Morocco will see the moon. And we expect that announcement tonight between 9:30 and 9 o'clock and 9:30. And so remember, they're an hour, funny enough, behind us, but their Maghrib is sooner than us. So when it's 7:20 Maghrib in Morocco, it'll be 8:20 here. And obviously it take us to about 9 o'clock, 9:30, when we potentially might get that positive sighting. We'll let you know here on British Muslim TV about that. Now, the New Crescent Society was set up by British Muslim community towards having a UK calendar, which does away the need to follow other Muslim countries. If the moon is not seen for any reason, then the tradition will dictate that you complete 30 days. Samira Mian is a member of the New Crescent Society and has been involved in this important work for many, many years. I'm pleased to say she's joining us live from London. A very warm welcome to program, Samira.
Thank you very much. Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me on behalf of New Crescent Society.
Okay. Just pause there. We've got a call. We've got lots of calls waiting. So 01924231083. And I get in trouble from my producer because I don't often take these calls. So let's go to the lines. Let's take the first call. Assalamu alaikum. You're live on British Muslim TV. Hello. Yes,
Hello?
bro.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. But if you turn your TV volume off, sir, then we might be able to hear you better.
Okay, yeah, I've turned it down completely.
Thank you, sir. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Asim. I'm calling from Peterborough.
Asim, what would you like to say, sir?
Yeah, my question is that why not just use calculations wholesale? So I know, for example, Turkey, they go by calculations just completely. And a lot of Muslim governments aspire to it as well because they just deem it to be cleaner. Now, I know that some people, they might say that the Prophet never used calculation. To that, I would respond that the Prophet never used calculations to dismiss testimony either. So, for example, you know the way we use science to dismiss Saudi testimony.
Yeah.
Right. So we're using calculations, which was never done by the Prophet. We're actually using it in consideration to.
Let me get this right. So you would do away with following Saudi Arabia, Morocco, or anywhere else, and just have a calculation-based calendar.
Just like Turkey, just follow the calculation.
Yeah.
It's a lot cleaner. And we're already using science.
Okay, thank you so much, Asim there from Peterborough, I think. Thank you so much for joining us here, 01924231083. I'm really conscious a special guest, Samira, is here with us, and I want to give as much time as we can to her. Samira, thank you once again for joining us. This clearly has caused a big stir. I don't know if you've seen the announcement from Jamaat al-Sunnat in Birmingham, who've just announced, even before Maghrib here in the UK, or even before the moon has been sighted, in Morocco, that they're going to do Eid tomorrow based on the calculation. And that's the announcement we've got. And lots of other mosques saying, look, wait until Maghrib. Okay, so let's make them. So anyway, you've heard, I don't know if you've heard the two viewpoints. You've heard Sir Iqbal Sacrani earlier on, Zahid Nawaz. Can you set out what the New Crescent Society's position is on a UK-based calendar first?
So firstly, it's really important that it's good to hear that we are all wanting unity and we all want to find a solution. One thing that both of them mentioned was local sighting, but it doesn't seem as though many people are actually locally sighting, because if we do, it's such an amazing experience that you can't help but talk about it straight away. So if I may, I want to talk about that first. So the actual idea of going up to a hill or a big park and going to the sunset location, looking at it, waiting for it, and then praying Maghrib, and then waiting for the crescent to be sighted. It's so beautiful. It really gives you a sense that you are living and breathing the Islamic calendar just as everyone would have for hundreds of years. And what's really beautiful is we can do this, connect our community with the cosmos, with Allah's creation, and simultaneously we can use science to, make predictions and convey this experience to others. So, for example, when we're standing on the hill, as we do in North Ala, just by the A40, we have our phones out, we're looking at apps, we have all sorts of technological discussions about where we should be looking and so on. And because of lockdown, the idea that technology is somehow, disconnected from this is not true. It's amazing how we were able to have the moon sighting live on Facebook from multiple locations across the UK. And it's this idea that the science and the calculations are all in harmony with local sighting. It's beautiful, and I think that's one of the best things that I've experienced in the nearly 4 years I've been working with New Crescent Society. Now,
Samira, do you understand the criticism that's directed towards the New Crescent Society? Is that do you reject, or do you turn a blind eye to the hadith which says you have to attempt to sight the moon, and if you don't sight the moon and you just go by the calculation, can you just clear up that confusion, please?
Sorry, I don't understand what the attack or criticisms are. We do follow 29 days. And then if not sighted, complete 30 days. So we go out on the 29th, and we always try and sight the moon. Sometimes we know it's not going to be visible.
Sorry, I mean, this is for me that, let me put it in a simple term what people are saying. They are saying that you, New Crescent Society, want to do away with following any country and have a UK-based calendar which is based on making sure that you go out and try to sight the moon. Am I right in that?
Yeah, so yeah,
Okay.
we do.
So they're wrong. So the criticism's wrong. You won't scrap going out and looking for the moon.
No. We totally advocate and live by
Thank you.
every member of the Muslim society community in the UK going out to sight the moon from parks, from hills, from their loft windows. I think if everyone experienced it, they would have no doubt in their mind that this is a solution that is in harmony from, you know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's practice till now. The problem we have in the UK, you could say it's a 50-year problem, and it's become more and more complicated with more and more multiple solutions as people have sincerely tried to find a way. But if we strip back all of that and say, look, as Muslims, let's try and sight the moon in the UK, enjoy that experience 12 months of the year, not just when it's a peak busy time for Ramadan, but try and experience it, and you will be convinced how harmonious the calendar we have that Allah has given and established for us. You know, this is, you know, it is in the Quran. It's harmonious on every level with, I think, you know, the science, the experience, the sunnah, everything. So yes, I'm totally happy.
I'm really glad you cleared that up, because obviously some people have been messaging us saying that you would do away with that. It's good to hear. New Crescent Society will not do away with those local mood sighting groups that go out every month. I'm glad you cleared that up, and thank you so much for that. Now let's just ask you one more question. So explain how the calendar will work. You will get the reports from the observatory, who will then form your calendar, and then you'll go out and try to look for the moon and base it on the 29th day. Am I right?
Okay, a little bit confused. So we will have on the 20. So basically, let me go back one step. So we've almost been doing this 4 years. So we have looked at our data, and we have almost 4 years of data. So in an Islamic month, there are either 29 or 30 days. I think there's a few misconceptions that by going by local sighting, you will end up with too many 30-day months. This is not true, and almost 4 years of data has provided us with this. And when we compare it to the years that have been experienced in Morocco, in South Africa, you can see that they will have the same. So they'll either have a split of 6 and 6, you know, 6 months being 29 days and 6 months being 30 days, or 7 and 5. So we, as our UK-based local calendar, have experienced very similar split of 29 and 30 days. So there's a lot of misconceptions around what is possible. And actually, by having so many people go out and sight the moon, this misconception can be sort of thrown out the window, I hope, because it's not true. We can sight the moon. And winter for us might be a difficult time to sight the moon, but so it is for, you know, many nations. There's, you know, problems of smog and pollution in many nations. So to think that weather is just a UK problem is a massive misconception, and we need to kind of educate people. And I hope with New Crescent Society that, you know, people are becoming more learned about the actual experience of it and the misconceptions around it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for clearing that up and that confusion. And obviously, people are messaging us. I hope that clears that up as well. So you're not advocating, Samira and the New Crescent Society is not advocating doing away with those local sighting as well.
The exact opposite, in fact.
You want more of that, don't you, in every single community?
We actually, you know, we want people to sight, and we want them to, you know, sight and then report in. And, you know, we don't work in isolation. Engineer Kamaruddin from ICO UK has been moon sighting for years, and he has a way of collating the reports each month, and we report into him as well, and we encourage such things.
Okay, we've got about 90 seconds before our break, and I just want to get one more question in. So what happens when, obviously, you can't always have 30 days in an Islamic calendar, and if you go out and try to see the moon and you don't see it, you'll have 30 days.
Yeah, that's fine.
So how do you...
that's another misconception. You know, I think you might have heard of the phrase where people say the second day moon, as though this is a wrong thing. But literally half the year is a second day moon, because on the 29th it's physically impossible for you to see it in your locality. So there's a lot of misconceptions and dismissive language around moon sighting.
But you can't have 12 months of 30 days, can you?
You can't, and you literally will have 29 and 30 days mixed. It's a very self-correcting system, and once you experience it, you realize that actually it's flawless. It's really flawless. So I think, well, I mean, the flaws are in from us humans, but as a 29 or 30 day situation, it will work, because the actual day is 29.5.
Okay, so you will stay with us, I hope, Samira. You're going to stay with us. We've got another segment to go. Time flies. And look, I hear that people want to have more discussion about this. And it's probably our criticism on us in the media that we've waited until Eid to put this together. Maybe we can do more longer-term conversation with you, Samira. Let's take a break, a final break, I promise. We'll come back and take more of your calls and talk about this important issue on moon sighting. Join us on the other side of this. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq. And as I was saying just before the break, that's a criticism, if you like, of us here in the media. We generally tend to get excited and obviously put this programme on the night before Eid for some people. And maybe we need to do a bit more prep work on this and get our guests to do. I know that Sir Iqbal Sacrani and Zahid Nawaz have agreed to do a longer programme, and I know you, Samira Mian, who's from the New Crescent Society, has agreed to do a longer version programme as well. So we will come back to this, inshallah, after Eid, but just wanted to get a flavour of what the conversation is. We want to hear your thoughts, please, 01924 231083. But let me give you that breaking news that came in the last hour. Jamaat al-Sunnah Birmingham have announced Eid al-Fitr for tomorrow based on the calculation reports from Morocco, but not the sighting. Obviously, you can't wait until Morocco. And if you're waiting for Morocco for their announcement, we don't expect that until 9 o'clock this evening at the earliest, 9 o'clock this evening, because Morocco is an hour behind us. So it'll be 7:20 Maghrib in Morocco, which will be 8:20 here. So it takes... how long does it, Samira, how long does it take for the moon to be sighted, say, in Morocco once Maghrib's passed?
Usually, I mean, I can tell you the experience here in the UK.
Yeah.
So usually you have, say, Maghrib, say, today it's at 8:30. Then it's usually half an hour to till the moon set. And the moon set on the 29th is a smaller window because it's closer to the horizon and it's thinner. But on the 30th, it will be a bigger window of time. So maybe it could be an hour, and the moon will be slightly thicker and more illuminated. So therefore, the chances of seeing it are easier. But yeah, usually when people say we wait for Maghrib, you have to wait a little bit after Maghrib. Actually, I'd say 30 to 40 minutes is when you have a clearer sort of, the sky is darker and the illumination of the crescent is more possible to see.
And we know that the weather situation in Morocco is very clear as well. So there's a highly chance, according to the calculations here again, that the moon will be visible in Morocco. One of the things which Zahid Nawaz said, I don't know if you caught the interview with him, he was saying he really wants to see the New Crescent Society reach out to some of those ulama, a group of ulama, to explain your theory and calculation and trying to get them on side. Because that's the thing. If you can get these big figures in the community, the movers and the shakers, if you like, the Iqbal Sacranis of the world, the scholars within the Jabandi, Brailvi and the Shia community together, and explain your theory and calculations, then we've got a better chance for it to be a success. Would you agree with that? And are you happy to have that meeting?
100%. We have been working with as many organisations as possible. Our director, Imad Ahmed, has talked to, I think I just spoke to him earlier, he said thousands of people have been trained and hundreds of masjids and leaders. And in fact, our meeting 2 weeks ago, Sir Iqbal Sacrani was at our meeting. So it's really one of those things that we are doing this work. It's not a case that, okay, we're just sitting here doing, like our own thing. Literally, the conversations, the outreach between, different people is ongoing and a big part of the work of New Crescent Society. And, who are we? We're literally a small group of volunteers who, we're not paid, we're not funded by anybody. We literally want to do this as the most sincere thing to get unity in the UK. So we can't make the decisions. We can only provide information.
I was just going to ask you, in that terms of the decision, lots of work with individual imams. But like, for example, I can talk about the Sunni Brelvi community from which I come from. I know there are probably about 10 or 20 senior scholars who most of the rest of them would follow. And I'm just thinking, you know, if you can have a dialogue with them, explain and tackle the misconception, then that would take us a long way forward.
I think it's happened. There's been many meetings. There was the conference 2 years ago with the leaders in the United Kingdom, and there's been meetings on Zoom continuously. So they have been happening, and it is a case of, I think, it's like a fearfulness, right, to be the ones to make the change. So they want to be as secure as possible in the data, in the process, in the recording system, all of that before they make the decision. So we have to encourage and support them and give them as much education as possible, and we are doing that.
Yeah, let's take a call. I know you're happy to take some questions and improve people's knowledge of this. It's not as easy just saying, let's follow Saudi Arabia or let's follow Morocco or South Africa. There's a process that we have to follow, and hopefully we'll set out what the next steps will be in that calendar.
Until we have a solution, we can't say anybody is doing Eid wrong or anybody is doing this or that wrong, all right? Because there's a reason and a sincere decision probably behind every single person or announcement. So we can't be that kind of yours is wrong, ours is right. We can't be that person either. We just need to educate and provide a solution which we think everybody will then be happy with.
Let's take the call. Assalamu alaikum, caller. You're live on British Muslim TV.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, brother. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Imran from Rochdale.
Hello, Imran.
Hi. Yeah. So I was just listening in regards to obviously the like a UK calendar, and so I get it all. I understand, and for UK wide it can be a solution, but sometimes you have to come back to the reality, which is that the thing that will bring unity is consensus, and we're not in a time where we're going to get that kind of consensus. And what I feel a UK calendar will do, and I think I remember having this experience once in about, I can't remember if 2004, 2005, where there was actually 3 different Eid dates, because there was the Saudi date, which everyone felt they jumped the gun by one day, but you still got the hardcore followers. You have the Morocco, South Africa followers, and then you had those who tried to do it based on the UK. So that was 3 separate dates. I remember in my town, there were Jamaats on the second day, which was obviously wrongly referred to as the taxi driver Jamaats.
Yeah, I remember it.
That part of the community that were very unhappy that there was 3 separate days of Eid. I remember one of the central mosques within the town, we had to go around knocking on people's door at midnight.
Imran, but you're in, I mean, we're from the same town, just for people to know. We're from Rochdale. Rochdale's in a real good place now. It's got an agreed formula. It's worked really well, and all the mosques are united on that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got 14 mosques in Rochdale, and 12 of them are united. Unfortunately, 2 still are not. They're united and around the table, but they just cannot change their principle of following the first Muslim country to make the announcement. So that means even to this day, even though we've been sitting around the same table for over 10 years and doing moonsighting every single month, we've still not in our own town been able to get consensus, which is why this theory of the UK calendar, I just feel will never work because of the problem of consensus.
Because thank you so much, Imran, there from Rochdale.
No problem.
Samira, that consensus, it sounds like a great idea on paper, but you're asking people who followed Morocco or South Africa because they want to go by sighting to drop that and to have a UK-wide calendar, and that'll be very difficult.
I think the situation. So, for example, in Rochdale, they've tried moonsighting in their, town and cities, right? So if they expanded their region and were able to connect to multiple places, that gives you this strength and this consensus that's wider, and it would be spotted. The moon would be seen in the UK. So it is sometimes having to broaden our region a little, so to the UK only, but we can do it. And I think the solution and kind of living by it. Maybe it could be done in parallel so they can see that it isn't this, that different an idea. There will be times when we are coordinated with Morocco, but there will be times when we aren't. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that it is a case of educating people that we can have a calendar.
Samira, I absolutely loved it. I'm just really, really gutted that we've run out of time, and I really want to do more on this. And I hope that if you're happy, we can do a special programme and really open up the national conversation on this particular issue.
Yeah, we would love to do that. We have, we have live streams going out.
Yeah, you do.
And we've got a big one today, actually. So with Facebook Live itself.
Okay.
So Facebook contacted us to do this. So
excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Whenever you do your Eid, have a great one, and remember us in your du'as.
Thank you, and Eid Mubarak to you too.
Thank you so much. That was Samira Mia from the New Crescent Society. Wow, what a discussion we've just had. And it just, what I wanted, my aim, if you like, to put this programme together was to show you the diversity of the community, but the different opinions. So you've got a Saudi formula, you've got a Morocco, South Africa formula, and now you've got this New Crescent Society, which is based on calculation, and a UK-wide calendar. So let's give you an update. Obviously, if you follow Saudi Arabia, your Eid will obviously be tomorrow because you've completed your 30 fast today. If you follow Morocco or South Africa, the chances are won't get a positive sighting tonight based on that calculation. So therefore, we're waiting on what Morocco does. Morocco, we expect Maghreb today to be at 7:20 local time. They're always an hour behind us. So they're an hour behind us. So it would be 8:20 here. UK time is when their Maghreb is. So we expect an announcement around 9 o'clock, 9:15 from Morocco. And obviously here at British Muslim TV, we'll let you know what that announcement is here on the channel. But thank you so much to my guests. Thank you for your calls. Thank you for... Eid will be very difficult this year with what's going on in Jerusalem and Gaza. But pray for the Ummah. Whatever you do, have a fantastic Eid. And we'll be back next week at the normal time of 8:30 on Wednesday. Take care of yourself and each other. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.